He's a good guy, and he actually came because he's out thanking the men and women in blue, our airmen and airwomen, for serving, and of course coming out. He purposely wanted to come at this time, for example, to Minot. He was also at Malmstrom in Montana, and he was up in Alaska as well, both because he wanted to come during the cold weather, and also because it's close to Christmas, to say, hey, thank you, and thank you, I'm here in the winter to say thank you, because, sometimes that makes it, your service tougher, but also, I want to be here close to Christmas because same thing, you're serving, 24/7. And he did a really good job. If you know Secretary Kendall, he's a very nice man. He's low-key, he's down there, he's very real. He is. And he actually went to the military academy, so he was in the Army. And it was funny, I said, well, what did you do in the Army? He said, well, I was taught to shoot down planes. So here he is, Secretary of the Air Force, but he worked in the aerospace industry for quite a while. So he has a lot of, because Minot's my hometown, and the magic of Minot is the people. And I'm reminded of that every time I come up here, not just because my family's here and I grew up here and all those things, but because I get to be around the Minot people again. And to prove I'm not just saying that because I'm up here, and it's Christmas and all that. Last night, we were over at Colonel Mike Walter's house, Chewy, as they call him up here, who of course is the bomb wing commander. And he and his wonderful wife opened up their home to us, and the Air Force Secretary, and entertained last night. Did a wonderful, beautiful job, and I have to say that the mayor actually cooked. He had hopefully legally shot a moose somewhere, not poached it up at Lake Metagoshi. But no, seriously, he had shot.
There's no evidence to that.
Yeah. So we'll let him comment on that. But he had somehow procured a moose, which he cooked, and we had moose, and we had a lot of other great food. And then, of course, Mark Janzer being there on behalf of Task Force 21, as well as the City Council. And, of course, Randy Burkhart, same thing, Task Force 21, our state legislature. Steve, great to see you here, other council members. So the Secretary was here to say thank you to all the men and women in the Air Force at this time of year. Did a beautiful job. But once again, our city folks, our Task Force 21 City Council Mayor, everybody turns out, and they're there and creating those relationships all the way up to Secretary of Air Force. That is the magic of Minot. That is special. I'll wrap up here, but I think that human element we can never forget. It matters because they're doing the same thing with every one of those members of the Air Force day in and day out. And that's why, interesting, as we were going out to the launch control facility on the bus, some of the more, I think it was Lieutenant Colonel, one of the colonels that runs one of the squadrons, was telling Secretary Kendall, well, yeah, sometimes these young airmen and women come up here, and it wasn't their first choice, and they're worried about being cold and all that kind of stuff. And he said, but it's amazing how many, when it comes time to go, really choose to stay longer or come back. And so he said that the perception they have coming here is very different than once they've been here and they realize how great it is. And so for all the folks in Minot that do so much for this Air Force base, we need to just not take that for granted. We need to say thank you for the Minot community and all they do, for the great men and women in the Air Force who do so much for us, of course, protecting us, keeping us safe every day. The only other thing and I've already gone on longer than I want, but sometimes, that happens.
He's a senator.
Yeah, it's endemic. Plus, I'm in my hometown. So, but the other thing I do want to mention is, and then I'll ask Kevin to say a few words, is Kevin's on Armed Services, I'm on Defense Appropriations. So we have both sides of making sure the Air Force has the resources they need. And that's why these visits are so important. When we went down with Secretary of Air Force to the launch control facility underground, you could see all the names of all the folks we had, Secretary of Defense, all these different people, the senators when we had them out, all written there, and you realize, getting those folks here is really, really important because right now, this is the only dual nuclear base in the country, and we're upgrading everything. We're literally upgrading everything. So The ICBM is going to be the GBSD, whole new intercontinental ballistic missiles, completely new. The aircraft, I mean, the B-52 airframe will be there, but almost everything will be new, from engines to avionics to how it carries the weapons to the weapon itself. Used to be ALCM, now it's going to be LRSO, long-range standoff missile. So everything up here, and the helicopters, we went through the the old helicopter facility. We're going from the Hueys to the MH-139 with a new helicopter facility. We were at Chewy's house last night. It's totally different, from the old base housing.
Yeah, right.
It's really, we're going through and really redoing everything, and we need to, because it's time, and because the Minot Air Force Base plays such an important role in our nation's defense. Whether it's all the stuff going on, in Korea and with China, everything, the Pacific Rim in Asia, or whether it's all this stuff in the Middle East, all the way into Afghanistan, Iran, all that kind of stuff, our guys are in the fight, and they're very, very important. So I'll stop right there, and Kevin, Senator Cramer.
Yeah,
your thoughts.
thanks, John. And I just, first of all, echo everything that Senator Hoeven said, and thank him for being such a great mentor to me. And he's right. We have found a way to surround the issue by being on the authorizing committee and on the appropriations committee. And this is true of several other issues, but it's really true of defense. Thanks, you guys, to the Task Force 21 folks, the civic leadership here in Minot. John made the point, and I'm just going to emphasize, it is never lost on our distinguished visitors, whether they be senators or congressmen, secretaries or undersecretaries, generals with 3 stripes, 3 stars, 4 stars, admirals of all. I mean, they never cease being impressed by the community involvement. For us, it's sort of intuitive, and we sort of presume that every community does the same thing for their airmen and their other military personnel. Not true. This is an exceptional place, and this is an exceptionally patriotic community that rolls out the red carpet and is heavily involved. So thank you all. It makes our lobbying job a lot easier when the lobbyists are not hired guns, but rather the local leadership, and that's reflected as it was last night. Frank Kendall, in my view, as a Secretary of the Air Force, he's the 3rd one I've been able to work with in the Senate. I'll never forget, he said something so impressive to me when I interviewed him prior to his hearing, when I asked him about keeping on track with the modernization of our nuclear triad. And he worked in the Defense Department in the Obama administration. He said, we have no more days to waste. No more days to waste. And that impressed me about his awareness of the issue. And so with that in mind, for him then to choose Minot as one of the 3 bases he was going to stop at just before Christmas, on his way home for Christmas, shows you just how important it really is to him, and that's important to all of us. Maybe I'll just say a little something about where we find ourselves as it relates to the nuclear triad. This most recent National Defense Authorization Act that was passed by the House and the Senate, signed into law by the President, just last week we passed it. It's a big deal. And we went into the negotiations. This is the 61st year in a row that the United States Congress and the President have passed and signed into law a National Defense Authorization Act. It's authorized every year. It's not one of the 5-year, like highway bill or farm bills. It's an annual authorization. We were concerned because we knew that there were a lot of rumblings, and there still is an activist movement to try to reduce our nuclear deterrent. Some folks don't think we need the triad anymore. The one they think we can do without is, of course, the ground-based. So we had to make sure that this sort of transitional year, we kept that on track. And of course, it didn't hurt that our adversaries, particularly China, is being very mischievous. The successful launch and testing of hypersonic missiles, particularly the recent one that orbited the entire Earth, the wrong direction, by the way, not the right direction for them, but the direction other than what you would anticipate, was a reality check of just how advanced our peer adversaries have become. 100,000 Russian troops on the Ukrainian border, those B-52s are pretty darn important. And so, we were able to secure $2.6 billion for the ground-based strategic deterrent to continue moving forward with the replacement of the intercontinental ballistic missiles. About $600 and some million for the bombers to re-engine, modernize them. $609 million for the long-range standoff weapons that Senator Hoeven talked about. These are the systems that modernize our nuclear triad in a significant way. And it's a big commitment on the part of the country, and it's necessary. Along with, of course, the ground-based strategic deterrent is the launch and facilities. They call it NC3, Nuclear Control, Command, and Communications. There'll no longer be the black phone and the big red button, which doesn't really exist, by the way. Just but a whole new system. So kudos to Secretary Kendall for making both the commitment and then for making the commitments the very personal, irrevocable gift of his time today, and we're just really, really grateful for that. And again, be happy to answer questions when it's appropriate.
Mayor Sima.
Come on, Mayor.
Thank you.
Chef, head
I
chef.
call him Chef.
Chef Sitma?
Chef
Well, I should probably iterate
Chef.
or make mention of it. Yes, it was a once-in-a-lifetime tag and tagged legally last October. So.
Remove all the dollars.
That's good. We knew it was.
No, I
Proud
have to take the first moment to once again, and without ever missing an opportunity, to thank Senator Hoeven and Senator Cramer for all of the continued support, because it has been tremendous, and as you mentioned, it's been needed with everything that has been going on out in Washington. I want to also make sure that we thank Secretary Kendall for coming out here, because it does mean it is a big morale booster to a lot of our airmen. He took the time to go out and meet with a lot of them before coming out to the event last night at Colonel Walter's place. And we did have an opportunity to spend about 30 minutes talking about, the priorities of the Air Force, and really how Task Force 21 has been really identifying a lot of those priorities even long before I think some of the current administrations have moved forward, and that's quality of life, and really addressing a lot of those young airmen as they might come in as an E1 here to Minot for their very first base, and how important it is to get them entrenched into the community and make them feel welcome, and really what that means for their quality of service then. And of course, we talked through all of the different opportunities and challenges that go along with that, but very, very aware of how important all of our different airmen, and not only that, but their significant others and the people that come right along with them, and their sacrifice that goes along with that. Chewy's, Colonel Walter's wife, Carrie, and their whole family helped put the event on together last night, along with that and a lot of other people. But if we take a look at the dependence of all of the airmen and airwomen that are out there serving, that is a significant sacrifice, and Secretary Kendall absolutely sees that and the importance of quality of life for all of them as they serve the United States and keep all of us safe. So if we take a look at some of the different programs through the Chamber of Commerce with the Adopt an Airman program, and the hard work down at the state to get some of the reciprocity with licensing, that has been instrumental in bringing those issues forward, and being able to sit down with Secretary Kendall last night and say, hey, here's what we're doing, and here's the hard work that has gone into that, and even the stand-up and start-up process of bringing the newest member of Task Force 21, which is me, into the fold, and being able to educate me into all of that work that's been going on for decades. I think the joke is that one of our longest serving members was there when the Air Force was formed. Mm-hmm. So before the Air Force was formed.
Bruce Christensen. We won't mention his name though.
Or his age.
Yeah.
But that type of installed knowledge and tenure, and being able to have a be on a first name basis with 4-star generals that are not only serving but retired and who are still instrumental in a lot of the policy making is exceptionally important. So it's certainly been my honor as the newest member of the task force to be able to step into that role, but to have that tenured knowledge, which only makes it more and more effective. So between Chairman Janser here and Senator Burkhardt and all of the other members of Task Force. They've been doing an outstanding job for a very long time, and I'm certainly just blessed to be part of it. But also thank you to Representative Armstrong, who was out last night out at the Air Force event, and certainly the support that he's been helping out has been just absolutely phenomenal as well. So thank you.
Right on. Good, Mayor. Matter of fact, to your point, General Cotton, who is the head of Global Strike Command, not only served here at the Minot Air Force Base, his wife is from the area. Those ties matter.
Absolutely.
Now he's in charge of Global Strike Command, so great example. All right, Janser, Task Force 21, Chairman.
Thank you.
The big guy, the keynote speaker.
Thank you, Senator Hoeven. I just want to use this opportunity to say thank you to our congressional delegation, which has consistently been a terrific team member in the task of Task Force 21, which is to ensure that Minot Air Force Base missions continue. Senator Hoeven talked about relationships. You know, when we have gone on visits to the Pentagon to see senior leadership, when we call because we're worried about something that we've heard in terms of a rumor, we get the best response that you could possibly imagine. And so thanks to both of you for your hard work in Washington, and Congressman Armstrong as well. When all three members of our congressional delegation show up, it makes an impression because the senior leaders know that we're all one team. The second thank you would be to the citizens of Minot and to our community for being open and welcoming to the airmen and airwomen that are sent here to serve. All of the stuff that has been cited about, you know, we can't do much about the weather, but the warmth of the people and the welcoming nature of our community is what makes the difference for the folks that come here to serve, and why many of them stay and many of them come back on second assignments, and why many of them retire here after their Air Force career is done. That said, thank you to everybody who has been involved in this visit. Secretary Kendall, I think, picked a great time of year to come, and you know, from all accounts, it's been a good visit, and this does nothing but increase our stature and our work here. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Mark. Randy Burkhardt, not only a great member of Task Force 21, but does so much for us in the State Senate Legislature.
Do I get to say something?
Randy, thanks for, well, of
You're a
course.
senator, aren't you?
Cool.
Yeah, exactly.
So, well, greetings, everybody, and I'd just like to say a couple things, because much has been said already, but Mayor Sipman and I had about 15, 20 minutes with Air Force Secretary Kendall last night, and he was even interested in what's going on in the state. And we talked about infrastructure needs and this sort of thing and that, but the GBSD, when people say, so why do we need that, and why would we spend so much money to upgrade that? And I go, well, it's analogous to a parachute. If you don't have one when you need one, you're probably not going to ever need it again. And deterrence is why we haven't had a nuclear war in the last 65 years or whatever it's been. Everybody knows out there that we can be there in a half hour or less. So, and when that's an old system like the Minuteman III is, we need to upgrade that. And then we're going to have a pretty much brand new B-52 also. So thank these folks for their influence in the Senate and appropriations. And I just want to say I'm glad to be part of this. And I've been part of Task Force 21 probably for, I think, since 1994. So that makes it 25 years, 26 years.
Okay.
And I'm probably the rookie of the group, other than the mayor, because he just got on board. But we have a very dedicated group of Task Force 21 people. And I'd say this, I'd say Minot is probably the most well-known civic leader group in Air Force Global Strike Command. We are everywhere, and thank you for listening. Merry Christmas.
Good, Randy.
Yeah, great.
Steve Petragulli, if you have anything from City Council you want to throw in, jump up here and do it. I just want to pick up on the last point Randy made, which is so important. You know, sometimes in DC, and particularly with this administration, they tend to talk about, well, you know, if we have the best conventional force, that's what we need, because, you know, we're not going to use those nuclear weapons. So we'll just have the best conventional force, we'll invest in the conventional force, and we don't need to make all these investments in the nuclear triad. That is absolutely a false argument. It is fundamentally flawed. It would not work. It is very important we have the best conventional forces, which then puts them in a strong position if they have the foundation of the strongest nuclear force. But if somebody else thinks that their nuclear force is on par or superior to ours, then they have a rationale to escalate beyond conventional capabilities, because they say, well, we can't compete against their conventional capabilities, but we have a nuclear capability that is on par or superior to theirs, so then we'll escalate to that point. They have to know that our nuclear capability is superior so that they never mess with us, because like Randy said, you never want to have to use it.
Right.
And the way, you know, that's like Reagan's peace through strength. The way we know that we'll never have to use it is if it is superior to anyone else's, then they'll know they can never test us. So we've got to have it. It is fundamental to our national security. And that is an argument that people lose track of, that we have to make so that we continue to keep these investments in the nuclear enterprise on track. It is what keeps our country safe, and it is vitally important. So with that, I'll wrap up, unless anybody else had anything else or there's any questions. Anything else? All right, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Yep, Merry Christmas, guys, thanks. Okay.
Great job, John.
Awesome, thanks. Man, you bet. God, thank you.